welcome back to the pod. Here we have
Jameson.
This is Jameson.
Hi, Jameson. Hi. Hello.
Okay, so we were talking a little bit
Welcome
earlier
back to the
about
pod.
diet.
Today we are talking about, what'd you say?
The paleo diet.
The paleo diet.
And so the paleo diet is basically this diet that was invented by Lauren Cordain, and it was supposed to be he invented it because he believed that human beings were happier when they only ate like cavemen, basically. So it's based off of what human beings ate from 2.5 million to 10,000 years ago before agriculture.
A lot of doctors recommend it, like, especially for people who are maybe overweight.
Yeah, we actually have a clip.
Oh yeah, we have a caller.
We have a caller.
Let's go, caller.
Hi, everyone. This is my first time calling, but I've been a long time listener. And I have some problems with my weight, which means I have an increased risk of heart attack. And when I was researching the paleo diet, it looked like a good diet to follow because it's marketed as being very beginner friendly, and it is supposed to help people that are overweight and have health problems. However, I was a bit concerned because it does seem a little restrictive because it cuts out a lot of sources of fiber and vitamins. What are your thoughts on this?
Wow, so that was a really good question. And I think that the thing about the paleo diet is that it cuts out processed food, which is important, especially because a lot of what we eat is basically poisonous. And that's one of its main benefits, but I think it's just too extreme in the fact that a lot of the food it cuts out are important vitamins and nutrients that if you're sick or if you have some sort of disease like a metabolic disorder, or you have, even if you're overweight, it doesn't translate well into a healthy lifestyle.
Right, but also at the same time, you're significantly cutting down the amount of sugar that you're taking into your body, as well as the excess fats from trans fat, saturated fat. Is that not a beneficial factor?
I think it's really important, but I think you need to incorporate that with other types of diets.
I do think that the paleo diet can be beneficial for a certain group of people, but then it goes into eating disorder culture and how it can you can get so obsessed to counting your macros and micros and really solidifying all the way down into this ideal body type, which you can't realistically achieve because you're constantly wanting more and more and more.
That's just the thing. A lot of fad diets are very strict. They're very sensational, and that's not how you should be eating. I think it's sort of it's unhealthy.
Not a long-term solution, but a short-term
Getting rid of processed foods and everything is important. We need to do that.
Yeah, I do think that it can be beneficial. So to answer your question, I think that it's a worthwhile diet to try for a short period of time. I think that initially, if you're concerned about the amount of weight that you're carrying, especially around your abdomen and around your heart, that's important for you to regulate. However, if you're looking for a long-term solution, I'd look into more, not a calorie deficit, but maybe being mindful, looking into physical activities, and trying to figure out ways that you can incorporate a healthier lifestyle into your everyday life. It's also important for you need to monitor what you're taking in, because a lot of it is misconstrued to be oh, you need to eat raw stuff. No, you can't.
Yeah, we had fire. We had fire before we had agriculture.
We had fire, babes. We had fire.
Yeah, you can cook your food.
You're safe, I promise.
But
yeah, salmonella is no joke, so especially just be careful. Just be mindful about the bacteria that's being consumed. I think.
Oh, speaking of bacteria, I just remembered. So there was this study done on human gut flora, our gut microbiome, and then after we adopted agriculture, it changed. It became less diverse. So that's another reason why the paleo diet isn't that healthy, because our bodies are very different.
So paleo diet. Let's go over what we've discussed. From an evolutionary standpoint, it is beneficial to cut out the unhealthy parts of the modern age, trans fats, saturated fats. But it's also healthy to remember that we should be living a 20-80 diet. So the majority of the time you are eating healthy, but at the same time you're allowed to live. You're allowed to.
It's really hard, I think, just because it's hard to find anything that isn't processed. It's hard to find anything without sugar.
It is expensive.
Yes.
Have you been to Whole Foods?
Girl.
Okay, well, I walked into Whole Foods once, okay, and they basically charged me for breathing the air, right? It was so expensive. But these dairy-free, gluten-free, vegan, unprocessed organic foods, they're from these stores are they're so expensive because it costs more money for them to not include all of the processing. Because then it's like you have to make sure that there isn't any prions, any bacteria, while also making sure that it's not entirely processed. It's also unrealistic because you think about how like a couple years ago, maybe 20 years ago, it would have been cheaper to like maybe like eat in and like, you know, like make your own food versus going out. Now it's cheaper to go out, go to McDonald's or something like that to bring back food than to actually buy the ingredients, prepare it, and serve it.
So
But yeah.
I think that's a really important point.
And it's also a separation of the classes because you can't necessarily spend your whole paycheck on groceries.
Because who really is doing like trying?
Because
all
how
these
can you
diets?
spend
It's
$500
mostly
by
richer
yourself for one person on groceries? Can we be serious? It's so expensive to buy groceries, especially organic ones.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, at the end of the day, it's not a realistic diet for people who struggle financially. However, if you're in the place to put wealth, might as well. If you want to incorporate a clean diet, a more healthy way of living, a healthier source of food.
Just do it in moderation.
In
Make
moderation.
sure, if you're going to do it, take vitamin supplements or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because you can also lose a lot of fiber.
Yeah.
Well, I think that
covers it. Thank you for watching.
Yeah,
right
now we're going to
after.
cut to a break. Ready?
Woo!
Do it with me. Woo! Yay!
Oh my god.
Yeah.